This video will be going over adding, manipulating objects, and edit mode. So let me just select on this object, press X to get the pop-up to delete, and I'll just press X or click on that. I believe if you press X, no, it does not. Okay, my bad. So Blender has different modes, as you can see in the top left here. Object mode, edit mode, scope mode, vertex paint mode, weight paint mode, and texture paint mode. Don't worry about the details of these right now. If you were into modeling, you would press edit mode, and you were able to select vertices to edit, move around, and change with all of these options on the side. You also have lots of shortcut keys to change exactly what options or what actions you do. Such as the knife tool, as I'm sure you have found useful in the past. If you want to change selection modes, in Maya, what you would do would, if I can quickly add a cube, what you would do would be right-click, and you would go through this pie menu to Vertex, Vertex Face, Face, etc., etc. And Object Mode, as you saw to the left, or to the right, I'm sorry. In here, what you can do instead is in edit mode, which, by the way, the quick way of entering exit is tab. You can go up to the top left here and switch in between different modes. So I have the face here, and instead I can select all the edges, or I can select just the vertices, or the faces. If you hold down Shift, you can go into two selection modes at once. Though this is a odd use case, I'm going to admit. I don't expect anyone to use this. From here, there are quite a few different things that you can do, but I won't focus on modeling for this. This is just an overview after all. Pressing tab to get out of edit mode, I guess I should also go over these menus to the right here. I highly suggest playing with Blender yourself and finding out exactly what all of these do. But this orange icon right here is pretty much the channel box in Maya. So you can see here the channel box with translation, rotation, scaling, visibility, and so forth. Blender has them compacted up here, and you have more options down here for custom properties. This is mainly scripting stuff, don't worry about it. Viewport display, so if you want to only show texture on this one item and none of the other ones. Proxify, don't worry about that right now. I'll have a separate video on Proxify. Visibility, motion paths, and everything else. But in here, probably the most useful feature that you'll find is in placing the object. If I was to hold down Shift, click on the first area, and drag around, you can see that I can edit multiple channels at the same time. So if I want to turn all of these to 111, you can see that now the cube is placed. You can also see the rotation mode. And it uses Quaternion as well as Euler. And axis angle. Delta transform. This is a weird, complicated thing. Don't worry about it. I haven't used it pretty much ever. You can also see relations and some other menus. Please feel free to play around with it. In here you have modifiers. These are non-destructive ways of working and will be extremely useful to most people. So you can see I have created 5 versions of the cube, and anything I do to edit the first one will be transferred to all of them. If I was to press Alt-D and create an instance, or in Maya, a duplicate special instance, you can see that both of these are edited together. However, one thing to note is that they do not do instance over modifiers. However, if I select both of them, press Ctrl L, you can share modifiers of the selected or the original. So if I were to select like this, press L, and I was to press modifiers, oh, I'm sorry, I had it backwards. I had it correct before. Last selected. Press modifiers, and you can see that the modifier from one got duplicated over to the other. Please feel free to play around with all of these settings, as a lot of these are very interesting and can be very helpful if you are in modeling. Some of them, if you are in rigging, such as the modify ones to the left, these are slightly complicated to explain, and most of the ones, a couple of the ones on the deform to the right here will be useful for layout. Simulation will also be useful for layout and rigging, along with a few deformers for rigging as well. One powerful thing that you can do with this is, if I was to scale this down, and I have an add-on which gives me a quick modifier, which is a Boolean modifier. If I press Control minus, you can see that everything is Boolean modified, and so it's being subtracted out automatically, rather than what you have to do in Maya, which is destructive. From here, if I was finishing an asset, I would do a few more things, but you can see how this gives you a very, very quick way of doing hard surface assets. I will now remove these modifiers. And now I'll go over a couple more hotkeys before this video completes. After using G once again to move to a certain area, I'm going to use R to rotate and S to scale along one of the axes. If you press an axis twice, it gives the local axis rather than the world axis. Now, and of course this applies to rotating, scaling, and moving. Now if I press Alt-R, this will reset the orientation of the object. So if I go over here, you can see now the rotation is all 0. While before, as you saw, I pressed Ctrl-Z to undo. It was all at different angles. Alt-R resets rotation, and following the path, Alt-G resets the location of the origin, and Alt-S resets the scaling of the object. I'll be going more into detail and reiterating a lot of things as groups continue, as groups are assigned, and so forth, I should say. I believe there's pretty much only 2 more concepts that I wish to get through, and that'll be the completion of this series. Thank you for watching so far, and please play around. If you catch anything, please let me know so I can correct it and I can try to become a better teacher. Thank you.